So I'm delighted today that we've announced our updated research strategy. So in 2013, we wrote the first Duchenne-specific research strategy. And at the time, it was really about looking at driving innovation and thinking about our core aims as a charity, which is searching for a cure and improving lives, which was very important. So in 2013, it was quite forward-thinking in the sense that when we wrote the strategy, we had a sense of what was coming, and we felt quite strongly that we, as an organisation, because of our history, that we could see where the field was going. So at the time, we identified gene therapy as a priority and a goal to further develop. And actually, we were quite right in the sense that when we wrote it, we did receive some pessimistic feedback in the sense that they felt that it was a bit premature for Duchenne and we had some way to go. But I think what we have seen in the past year is really different approaches for gene therapy. So you've got the microdystrophin and the different vectors, which is microdystrophin is a smaller version of a dystrophin gene inserted into a viral vector to circulate a shortened copy of the dystrophin gene and potentially produce more dystrophin. And when we put it into the strategy, I think there were some who felt there was a lot more work to be done. So I think we were very truthful and very forward thinking in the sense that now we're at the stage where we've got clinical trials. Now we've got the discovery in preclinical development for CRISPR-Cas9, which is called gene editing. So gene editing is like molecular scissors. It's not at the looking at inserting a copy of the gene, although you do need a vector to carry, so almost like your molecular scissors. It's actually taking out either a version of a duplication of a gene and cutting it out, or looking at for a duplication, so a duplication part of a dystrophin gene, but also, taking things out at the DNA level. So that's a form of genetic replacement therapy or gene therapy. And although it's at an early stage, in 2013, I think it wasn't on most people's radar. So again, in 2013, it was gene therapy. It was looking at biomarkers, looking at the wider, so dystrophin-associated protein complex. So just think about like the big targets in dystrophin and how it signals and different things in the muscle, but also looking at things in combination. And look where we are now. That was 2013. We're now 4 years on. And this is involving our research subcommittee. So our research subcommittee, it involves researchers, but also different people, including young people living with Duchenne. That's really important. And it's about thinking not only what we can drive things forward, but what can we add as an organisation and what strategically where we should put our funds. So we have taken some time to really think about this. And the first one is the DMD Registry, which is really important. It's a genetic database which holds a lot of genetic information, and it's the largest genetic database in the UK. And it's about thinking where the DMD Registry is going to go. It's about thinking about the infrastructure, so the geneticists who will drive the database itself, and to really see how that will facilitate clinical trials and recruitment in the future. So we have to think about the research strategy over 3 years. That's what the aim is to really drive things forward in the next 3 years for Duchenne. So the first priority to identify was the DMD Registry. The second one is about innovation. So as in 2013, we thought about gene therapy. What we are really delighted to announce is our collaboration with the AFM. So the AFM is a French organisation who have a national telethon, and they work across all rare diseases. And they have an annual grant called the Trampoline Grant. And the Trampoline Grant is really early phase, really early preclinical work. What I mean by preclinical work is really it's almost like a sounding board for Duchenne scientists. So it's about them submitting really sound hypotheses, really good innovative ideas that will never get funded. And it's really about how we can potentially fund that, and that might drive innovation and further collaboration. So what we are saying is in collaborating with a big organisation, with AFM, we have a fantastic track record of funding great work over the past several decades, is we're going to work exclusively on the trampoline grant for Duchenne. And this is really great. If something doesn't work because it really is so novel and that's fine. I think what we will encourage is researchers to publish. And sometimes things don't work. But if you publish and you share that information, then it's a really great way to say to the community, look, we've tried this, it doesn't work. So, maybe you need to think about not doing this or taking a different approach. And that drives innovation, that drives collaboration. So that's the second priority. The third one is to really look at outcome measures. So there's lots of sessions at the conference around outcome measures, and I think there's some great work. But we need to think about the clinical trial, the protocols and longitudinal outcome measures. So what do I mean by that? So a lot of the outcome measures are around specific parts of Duchenne, right? You have the North Star composite score, which is for those who are under 7. And then you've got the 6-minute walk test, which is probably around 6 to 10. And then you've got the PUL, which is the performance of upper limb movement, which has been validated, and now there's a new version of the PUL. So it's really about moving forward outcome measures. So thinking about the PUL, thinking about young people and adults potentially participating in clinical trials, but also thinking about patient-reported outcome measures, and that's really important. It's not only important for clinical trials, but it's important for the payers. It's important for reimbursement. So when a regulator decides whether something is going to be approved and available on the market, then the next step is actually someone paying for it. And payers want to see patient-reported outcomes. They want to see how meaningful that development has been for those who use the treatment. So outcome measures are really important, but also part of outcome measures are natural history data. So if you think about the natural history of Duchenne, it's really important to collect information around how you progress, just different information, really adds robustness to data. So when, for example, if a company is thinking about clinical trial protocol, they need to think about the data they're going to submit to the regulatory authority to approve the compound at the end. And natural history is a really important part of that, because I think as most groups want to limit the placebo arm of a trial, they want to use more historical control cohorts. And natural history data is a vital part of that process. So natural history data is really important. And that is about also driving clinical trials and recruitment, but as part of the outcome measures. So that's third. And then fourth is around biomarkers and sharing of biobanking. So biomarkers are like biological measures. So it could be blood, it could be urine. In some cases, you have to limit the use of biopsies, but muscle biopsies. And it's about sharing that information. It's about how it's analysed, how it's processed, but also how can they use that information to look at different outcome measures. So there was a great session today about molecular biomarkers. So sometimes molecular biomarkers molecular are just things which are genes or genetic modifiers in genes that potentially could be used as an outcome measure. So it's really important that we share this information, that there's collaborative biobanking, and we want to be part of that process. So that's number 4. And the 5th is around standards of care. So if you think about standards of care, if you think about the average life expectancy, it's pushing now late 20s, early 30s. So what's made the biggest difference to that? It's been standards of care. So with the imminent publication standards of care guidelines, we want to ensure that that information is publicly available, that it's practical for young people and families and the whole Duchenne community. But also we want to be involved in the education, but not only around standards of care, but how it's going to be implemented around the clinical centres around the UK and also internationally. And as part of that is around acute and emergency admissions. So I think there's still some work to be done around the monitoring of acute and emergency admissions, because I think there have been cases this year in which there's a better way of looking at that. There's a better way of monitoring it. And then there's some great work being done by ourselves in the early planning stages and some of our partners around this. And this is really important. This is really going to help with standards of care, but also around living a better and longer life. And I just wanted to thank all our supporters and for everyone who has interacted with us and has shared information, supported us, because without your support, without your help, we wouldn't be here where we are today, and we wouldn't be able to continue to drive things forward. So thank you for your contributions and for really fueling our mission as an organisation. And do engage with us, do come to us if you've got any comments or questions or queries about anything to do with Duchenne. We are here and we want to make things easier, better for you. And we look forward to hearing from you. So many thanks for your support.